Welcome back, everyone. Hope everyone's having a great summer, getting some good modeling in, or at least some good rail fanning if that's your thing. I know I haven't had a ton of time, the same broken record story over and over, but finally getting around to it. It's the last video was around the 4th of July, and here it is kind of the end of July, at least when I'm getting a chance to work on stuff. It's just been really nice out, and as much as I love model railroading, it's fun to be outside doing whatever. So not a ton of things to show this week, mostly just hopefully some additional stuff on the bridge and the bridge scene. I think today I would start by, when I did the bench work for the layout in the new area, I left a section that would be what would become the river scene. So the bench work will actually drop out and the bridge will go into place. Now, I've been really kind of reluctant or hesitant to do this because once I remove this section, I pretty much am taking the layout to the point where I can't run it anymore, because that's obviously the main line, and with it out, the layout will be out of commission. So I got to commit to this and just do it, but I don't want to rush it at the same time. I want the scene to turn out right and to look right when it's done. So, but anyway, that's I think the next step in this project. So we'll flip over to the layout and get started working on that. All right, so this is the scene itself, or where I plan to have it. And for now, the bridge is just set in place. The bridges are still independent of each other. I haven't connected them or anything, and the track is still loose. I kind of want to get the bridges in place first. But you can see here, underneath the bench work, I've got this 1x4 running the length of the entire river scene. And what I plan to do is basically just take this piece of styrofoam and cut it out. I'm off the screen here, but on this end over here, I'm just going to cut it along the backdrop and then drop that down. I'll extend the backdrop down to finish that off, and then contour the sides with styrofoam and kind of create river embankments, and then where the bridge piers on either side are going to go, and then also the one main pier. Now, obviously, again, this true Wisconsin Central structure had 3 bridge spans. I'm consolidating here, shrinking to fit kind of thing. So I'll just have one. The unique thing is that, and maybe a lot of bridges are like this, but one of the piers it's somewhat flat on one side, but on the other side, the downriver side, almost has a tail to it. And I'll try and find some pictures to show you. But basically, I think it's just so it, as the water rushes past, I imagine that it has to do with erosion of the bridge pier itself, I would assume. But it's a unique structure. It's not just a column of concrete. It's actually got a little bit of a tail to it. So again, I'm going to have to show that one for visualization. But so I think the first thing I'm going to have to do is I'm going to have to get this track up, and then cut this styrofoam and glue it in place and drop it down so it becomes the base of the riverbed scene. So this is kind of it. I mean, I'm committing to it at this point. Once this is cut and dropped, like I said, this is the main line, so I'll be out of commission for a period of time here. So here goes nothing. So some pretty simple tools for this one. When I applied this track here, I tried to go real thin on the liquid nails, so that way I could come back and pry it up relatively easily. Well, at least I planned to do that. I think in reality I wasn't thinking, and I glued it down, not thinking ahead. Shame on me for not planning better. But so basically, I'm just going to go ahead and go underneath here and kind of just start working the rail up. Alright, well, track is out. I just ended up using my putty knife to pry up the track itself. It wasn't ballasted, so that wasn't too bad. And then, as you can see, there was just a thin bead of caulk holding down the roadbed itself, so that came up pretty easy. So, not necessarily using a tool the way it should be. This is actually the blade of a hacksaw. But what I want to do is I want to be able to kind of cut as flush as I can to the backdrop here, and I figure that this will allow me to kind of get in there and do a decent job of it. And then on this end over here, kind of the same thing. This end here has a natural, this is where the panel or the sheet of styrofoam ended anyway, so I don't really have to worry about getting a straight cut there. But I've got two cuts that I've got to make. So I'll make those and then drop this piece down and then hopefully glue it in place here. So, alright, here's the finished scene. I think this is about all I'm going to do. You know, a little bit of a sag, but I think it's still safe. You know, I think trains could go over this. Anyway, so here it is. You know, kind of a little bit of a cross section of the earth here. Here's the sky. Here's the, you know, your topsoil, and here's your bedrock. But I dropped down, so this will be the base of the river. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead, I've got some of this sheet styrene left over that I bought for the backdrop, and I'm just going to add another piece in here and try and blend it as best I can. I've got some of the thinner 20,000 stuff, so I can probably get that in there. Ultimately, what I'd like to do is maybe someday on a field trip, or if there's a picture available online, I would like to get a picture of the bridge itself. If someone like in a canoe or a boat on the river took a picture of the bridge, I could Photoshop the river part of it and just create a photo backdrop in this area to create the impression of the river going beyond here. Because for now I'm really not sure what I want to do with the backdrop, but I figure I can do that over time here a little bit. So for the time being, I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to just put a piece of styrene in here, paint it blue, that'll just be the backdrop for the time being. And then on either side, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to contour in the embankments, the river embankment, and then you know, figure out where my center pier will go. And then that particular, the one that I'm going to model, because there are technically two, but the one that I want to model actually has basically like a, I don't want to call it a sand dune because it's, you know, it might be, you know, soil, but it kind of comes up out of the water and it sits a little bit on an island. And I thought that would be kind of neat to model, just the land coming up to the bridge pier itself. I'll still probably put the pier on this surface and then just build up to it. So, and then I got to figure out how to build the what I want to do with the end abutments on either side. So I gotta figure that stuff out before I get too far along here. Okay, well, I guess I'm going to need some bridge piers here. This isn't exactly going to work, but this is what I've roughed in so far. I'm kind of repurposing and resalvaging some of the old mountains or hills or styrofoam that I used on the old layout before I redid this section, and you know, just cutting it apart. And again, I'm using my hacksaw blade and just a straight saw, razor saw, and kind of roughed in the shape. So I've got contours on both sides. Now I'm gonna probably end up covering this all in plaster cloth, either paper towels or, you know, whatever I've got available, and then just kind of to smooth everything out. But I wanted to rough the shape in with styrofoam, and this is a little bit steeper than the actual. You know, when you look at the contour of pictures, I don't think the river is actually quite as low as this model is going to be. So these slopes, what I'm probably going to end up having to do, if it shows up on this side here, I'm going to kind of work this at a little bit of an angle, even to kind of just smooth it out just a little bit more. And then I'll have to build out so the abutment comes out and up, and so that's that'll be the next step. And then I kind of roughed in this sand barge or sand bar here, sandbar around this. Well, and eventually it'll be a bridge pier right in here, but for now it's just a piece of styrofoam. So, all right, on to the next step. Well, as you can see, I've got everything kind of roughed in. What I went ahead and did is I built up this section here coming off of the main part of the layout, and I just added a couple of pieces of extruded styrofoam to build up the road bed, and then I can contour this as needed. And then on the side here, this is going to be styrene to create the concrete bridge abutment. So I figure now is as good a time as any. I'm going to start laying down the plaster cloth to build up a base, you know, in and around this area, and then on the other end over there. Nothing special. I've touched on this in previous videos, so I'm just going to go ahead and do that, and then I'll show you the end result. Well, I finished the plaster cloth. As you can see, I just rough contoured it in with the plaster cloth, and what I'll probably come back and do once this is dried is fill this in either with Sculptamold or with plaster, hydrocal, something like that. Maybe put some rock molds in there. You know, more likely they'll just be rocks along the edge of the river here. The actual river itself doesn't really have any rock faces per se, so this is more of a sloping, you know, dirt side of the hill. Also, once this is done, I may come back and just put a thin layer of plaster or hydrocal across this entire section here, just to kind of flatten it out a little bit and blend in all of this area. So we'll have to see. So of course the next steps will be painting this blue for the time being, and then doing the plaster. Well, that's it for this one. Now I know that I believe that the video says I started this on the 4th of July week, and here it is August 13th, so it's taken me a little bit of time to get from that point to this point, and that's the progress that I made. And actually I've only made that progress in about the last week. But I wanted to get something up. I know it's a little bit shorter, and it isn't it's progressing slowly, but you know, it's still progressing regardless. There's no deadlines, right? It's what we make of it and what we want to do. So as always, thanks a lot for sticking with me. I know things have been a little bit drier this summer, and I know I haven't had as many new videos as I'd like to, but hopefully things will start shifting gears a little bit here. Summer's coming to a close. The kids are going to be back in school, which means I'll be home more, and hopefully have a little bit more time for working on the layout. So in the meantime, I hope everyone's watching Modeler Man Mike's idea and kind of brainchild with the YouTube model builders live, and you know, it's the live chat session where you can log into a Google Hangout and chat with the folks that you know and have watched on YouTube now for a while. I got to participate in one back in July, and I think I mentioned that in the beginning of this video, and I know there's been another one since then, the August edition, if you will. And I'm hoping maybe I can do another one in the near future again with them. It was a lot of fun, and it was pretty informative, not just for me, but hopefully, well, hopefully not just for me, but for everyone, because I know I definitely learned some stuff. So again, thanks for watching, and we'll see you again in the next video.